EOS, our weekly meeting, and today we have Thursday, the 15th of June, 2023. And we're not really have an agenda today. We're mainly going to give a bit of a preview, a brief executive summary, or whatever you would like to call it, of what we are thinking ahead and what probably will be, so to say, presented for the community at large here in the weekend, etc. And without further ado, I'll actually give it to you, Mo, right away, because we have a hard stop in about 50 minutes, 55 minutes, dev talks and other things that's going on. So Mo, please take the lead.
Thank you, Lenny. First, just one quick subject that maybe didn't come up initially. I'd just like to remind all the delegates to please make sure you've donated your 300 EOS to the Circles Fund. Let me see. I don't have the address directly in front of me, but I believe it was what funds. You can edit this later.
Yeah. www.funds.eden. I'll put it in the chat.
Please do. Okay, well, let's get back to the subject. What we're going to be presenting is the basis for what we have as the purpose paper. This is going to be establishing a bit of what the direction is going to be. We're going to go over the main points and the highlighted issues. We're going to leave questions till the end if we need to go back and ask any. But generally, this is just going to be a summary of what we have so far, and just to keep everyone a little bit up to date of what's going on. Okay. So this is the EdenOnEOS purpose paper. We're going to start with the mission statement being: the EdenOnEOS DAO is dedicated to increasing the value of the EOS community by directing its human and financial capital, seeking out and incubating potential value generators, and leveraging its assets to support this endeavor. So far, this is the mission statement that I feel the community has all more or less expressed unanimity with. So we're going to stay with this. The consensus that we've come to is that it is a WPS. Therefore, we've directed it in terms of a sandbox or a VC. So what we're going to be looking for is to fund projects. EdenOnEOS as a risk-on sandbox fund dedicated to investing in risk-on projects that will bring value to the EOS community or the EOS ecosystem as per specified objective metrics, investing in seeding the growth of DAOs, incubating, accelerating projects and DAOs, focus on accomplishing the above for the objectively verifiable and measurable benefit of the EOS ecosystem, while whenever possible proposing and looking to fit the Eden UpVote model as a solution. So this is basically here we're establishing what our purpose is, what we're looking to fund, and how we're looking to do so. Why the UpVote sandbox management method? There's many qualified and capable members within the community. It's worth getting them together and leveraging those talents that are within this community. Pobello, we can come to the conclusion that what has been missing is a specified objective goal that would lead to a consolidation of these efforts and result in the Treasury having a greater identifiable impact, right? So as of right now, we can pretty much be sure that we've been funding a lot of different things for a lot of different reasons and can't measure any of them entirely. The fund distribution summary that Lenny and I have commissioned will help with identifying what that has been for our history and for our ability to move forward and actually be able to present the value that we've created over the past 2 years. But we can safely state that up until this point, we haven't been doing it in a manner that's impactful enough for the community. So what this proposes is that we do so in a manner that is. If the goal is to incentivize the growth of decentralized autonomous organizations and communities, the EdenOnEOS Sandbox Fund, through the UpVote model with a holocratic support structure, will allow for the highest degree of decentralization, capable of still remaining focused on achieving its desired outcome. So this is being measured here. We're not going to be fully all-out decentralized, everyone doing whatever they want as we've been doing in the past. We need to do it in a way that it's focused so that we are decentralized, but simultaneously, we're also centralized. So we're looking for the benefit within that spectrum. We're looking for that middle point where we can actually we can be decentralized and still focused enough to accomplish our objectives. Allowing the community to have an organization through which anyone can join, rise through the ranks, earn reputation, and prove themselves an asset. So we want to be able to grow our community and to identify members that have been able to contribute and that are worthwhile and that we want to maintain within that community. We want to identify successful projects, methods, and individuals worth cultivating. Simultaneously, funding a sandbox such as this, implementing the UpVote method, puts an army of motivated community organizers across the world. We have that international community. It's worth leveraging it. At the disposal of better established funding and investment-focused organizations for a minimal cost. We have those organizations as well. They're going to launch soon. We want to be able to benefit them. We want to be of use to them. We want to be able to add value to them. Can result is that we do good advertising for the EOS community. We go out there, we spread the word, we look for projects, we are available, and it doesn't give any worthwhile results. The funding was not that much, what the costs are going to be, so it's good advertising, minimal cost. And you have an active community with available funding throughout the crypto sphere and wider world. While at best, it may result in many otherwise overlooked projects coming over to EOS for a fraction of the cost, growing to what may become a worthwhile project, and giving better positioned organizations their pick of a field of diamonds in the rough. So that's what we want to do. We want to bring in the projects, have them in our incubator, have them in one place where they can grow, have more value, and then be presented to an organization that's ready to increase their value even more. The UpVote model is key to enabling an active community that stays engaged and acts as the backbone of the blockchain community social infrastructure. So what we have here right now as an EOS community is a bunch of token holders, a bunch of people that are involved in this. We have projects, we have foundations, we have us, DAOs, we have games, we have people creating all of their own different things. But who are these unique identities that are presenting themselves, that are collaborating with each other every day, that are on camera, that are basically creating a community, a real community, a close-knit community, is us. So this is we're essentially becoming the backbone of this social community here. It's worth funding and maintaining. Establishing specific goals and guardrails from the onset increases the levels of transparency and accountability within the UpVote process. But with a functioning set of bylaws and dispute resolution system, it makes course correction in the event of misallocation or corruption swifter and clearer for all participants involved. So that's obvious. We're watching each other. Everything that we're doing is on camera. It's on blockchain. We can see where the funds are going, what their funds are being used for, and we're voting every 3 months. So we know what's worth maintaining and what's worth getting rid of. Another good reason to do this through this kind of a system. All of this results in the wisdom of the crowds being continually sourced, digested, and reflected in the decisions. Like I said, we're doing this every 3 months. We're having circles where people are collaborating and contributing and measuring the value being generated by each member objectively. So we're able to course correct and reflect what course and what direction we want to move into. However, none of this works if the EdenOnEOS Sandbox Fund is not receiving sufficient funding or isn't receiving sufficient regular and consistent funding from the wider EOS community. So we need the support of the community for this to work. We're going to be at the disposal and we're going to do this for the community. They need to fund us. They need to do it consistently and regularly. And we need to be able to count on that funding being there as long as we're doing the job that they're expecting us to do. So these are the checks and balances in this. In the moment that we're not achieving the desired results, they can pull funding. But we need to know that that funding is there and that it's going to be regular and consistent. the primary focus being on the addition of new projects to the ecosystem, thus the addition of more users and likewise increased usage of the blockchain. So that's, again, we're all in consensus on this. Projects and users equal more transactions equal usage of the blockchain. EdenOnEOS finance and funding distribution. Capital expenses will include official circles. These numbers are still being worked on, given that our treasury is decreasing as time goes. Everyone knows that 11% has been unlocked, but it's being distributed every 3 months or every month as people claim their funding. We'll be approximately at 200,000 EOS by the time that the new chief delegates take control, I believe, and the new election happens. At that point, we might need to be, or as that point comes closer, we need to readjust these numbers and come to an idea of exactly what this will be looking like. So initially, I was thinking official circles fixed at 16,000. Again, tentative. EOS unlocked from the treasury every 3 months. Investment capital will be fixed at 100,000 EOS per quarter. So the 100,000 EOS is what's going to go towards the projects that we're going to bring on through our incubator. Only projects that have completed the incubator accelerator program can receive funding. At least 10% of the unlocked investment capital must be dedicated to seeding DAOs without expectation of profit, but with a view towards catering to a large potential user base. So that's just a stipulation. Again, it's not required absolutely. We can discuss it, but I feel that that would be of benefit to be stated so that we understand where we're expecting ROI from and where we're expecting different forms of ROI from. Once projects have reached an agreement with the chief delegates, they will continue their relationship with the EdenOnEOS Sandbox Oversight Committee, a part of the Incubator Accelerator Circle. So as this has been thought about and discussed, the issue of chief delegates continuing to fund projects after their term, or better said, EdenOnEOS continuing to fund projects after their term, once the chief delegates that chose those projects are out of office, is an issue, because we can't be expecting chief delegates that come into office after a set of chief delegates to continue making the same commitments that those chief delegates held in prior. So we're moving the projects into or through the incubator, and we're taking those funds and putting them at the disposal of the incubator to fund the projects that have gone through the incubator and are approved with the chief delegates. Any roadmap that has been agreed upon with a project team with a duration extending past the term in which it was signed will be respected by the incoming delegates along with its terms and conditions. So this is more in reference to any other commitments that have been made in terms of what services circles may provide for a project. Because of course, we're going to have a marketing circle, we're going to have a finance circle, we're going to have communications and media circle, we're going to have administrative circles. We're going to be able to facilitate a lot of services for these projects through our circles. There might be commitments that are made and opportunities that are presented to these projects that may need to be honored past one term and into the next. Other expenses could include hosting quarterly or bi-quarterly hackathons, operational expenses, hackathons, yeah. So that's an idea. It's a possibility that we take the 100,000 in its entirety, or 50,000 or 90,000 or whatever it may be, and say in this three-month quarter, at the end of it, we're going to have a hackathon, and we're going to run the projects that went through the incubator through the hackathon, and then disperse the funds in a competitive style, possibly attracting more attention to what we're doing here. Funds distributed to delegates, chief delegates, and the head chief delegate. So again, these funds may need to be revised, the numbers. Initially, I was thinking 7,500 EOS will be unlocked from the treasury quarterly, which will be divided amongst the chief delegates equally. So we're thinking 7,500 EOS may be too much. That number may have to be smaller going into the future. The total amount to be unlocked from the Treasury quarterly for each previous round to that of the Chief Delegates will be that of the round after it multiplied by 3. That amount will then be divided equally amongst the delegates in that round. So one other thing to touch on is that instead of doing this in a manner that's percentages as is currently, we're doing it in a fixed manner where we're stating the amount of funding that's going to be unlocked for the Chief Delegates. Then for the winners of the round previous to theirs, from where the Chief Delegates came from, their funding will be that of the Chief Delegates multiplied by 3 and then divided amongst those delegates. And then repeated for the next set of delegates below that rank. And so on, except for the voting class, the first participating members that are not elected to a delegate status, of course. If there are any questions regarding that part, feel free to ask at the end of this. I know it may seem confusing. So this will be their base pay. 8,000 EOS will be unlocked per quarter to be divided into 12 equal weekly unlocks of 650 EOS. This will be distributed in an Eden fractal proportional ranking method for the delegates who participate in Eden weekly fractal meetings. So that's a bonus. That will continue their allotment. It will be a combination between Eden fractal meetings, where they will be reporting what they've been doing and, of course, being held accountable for that, and their base pay. So in that way, we're doing a little bit more research into what the delegates are doing. We're expecting them to be more transparent, more accountable for their work. So this will serve to incentivize continued regular communication and contribution. Distribution can only be increased once the Treasury holds over 1 million EOS. So that's going to incentivize the current set of delegates and chief delegates, once elected, to raise funding as well. That's going to be thought of as one of the responsibilities of the chief delegates, is to go out and fundraise and get investment from people. At which point distribution will increase to 10% of the Treasury as long as it stays above 1 million EOS. Otherwise, returning to the current settings, the 10% will be divided amongst all operational expenses stated above. So what we just stated about the 1 million EOS and the distribution will be concerning the pay for the delegates and the chief delegates in the circles. That has nothing to do with the 100,000 that is being unlocked for investment. EdenOnEOS Structure, option 1. So we have an issue with the various language communities that are currently forming. They're each forming in their own separate echo chambers, and we're not able to grow them individually because we're just not. Well, let's be honest, we still haven't done the job of growing ourselves, so it's hard to replicate anything or expect anything from them. Therefore, there are 2 options here. One, as a VC DAO structure will stand, incorporating the 4 primary language groups, English, Spanish, Chinese, and Korean. Elections will be held in each language group if, when possible, to perform the civil check. So the chosen delegates, each corresponding language group, will then integrate into one, at which point a second round of elections will be held. From the round 1 delegates, the succeeding rounds of delegates and chief delegates will be selected from that. Meetings will leverage multilingual members and when available, and/or translation software. Circles will be made up of members from all language groups, and software or multilingual members will be leveraged where possible to execute the tasks. So this will help integrate the other language members in that manner. Another option is that with a VC DAO structure will stand, setting up the framework which all language groups, English, Spanish, Chinese, Korean, will leverage, given only one currently has the funding capable to function as a preliminary VC. The current active members of all other language groups will be incorporated into the official circles leveraging translation services or multilingual members where available to execute the required tasks. Due to their inability to participate in elections, they will not be able to act as delegates. So we'll have all of the people with their other language capabilities integrated into the circles, but not participating as delegates. Circles will be made up of members from all language groups, and software or multilingual members will be leveraged where possible to execute the tasks. So these are the two options that are being currently thought about. We'll also ask the community to contribute their thoughts as to which option they see as a better fit. They're essentially try to run all languages into the elections simultaneously, or leverage one election for one language, allow the people from different languages to participate in the circles, and once they have enough members from their language group, they can then split off and form another language group Eden, or maintain one. So those are the two options. This is the incubator as thought of right now. The responsibilities would be providing mentorship opportunities, business education classes, community networking events, direct supervising, bringing the company to a product pitch for investors, or to a position capable of receiving further investment, oversight of projects having signed agreements and their roadmaps, with a committee, the previously mentioned committee, organized and holding MSIGs, unlocking tokens for payout to projects meeting their roadmap obligations. So the perceived metrics for this entire thing would be that, for example, their estimated possible active users, number of potential clients in the market, number of similar companies, competitors, market saturation, the value of the market targeted, the product market fit, annual recurring revenue, if any, anything that can show interest in the market. Degree of use of EOS blockchain, the degree of use of the EOS EVM, possible incorporation or use of a DAO software, possible integration of the UpVote system. Let me give a quick recap of the structure. It would be having the elections to select delegates and chief delegates, which would act as scouts that would go out and look for projects. They would then bring these projects on board, run them through the incubator, which would then receive funding if completing the incubator, and eligible depending on the metrics that are being established as what we're looking for at this given point. Also having the circles functioning, which would allow for all of the people in the EdenOnEOS community who may not have been elected as a delegate or a chief delegate to participate in those areas, earn funding, have roles as leads, secretaries, or coordinators of some sort, and therefore keep an active community in that sense as well. Adam is asking, should we allow projects that have already completed an incubator to bypass that requirement? Example, Helios. That is a very interesting question. It may facilitate them going through our incubator. I would suggest that they be able to show why they may not need to go through our incubator, if anything. But I would ask that I'd be more leaning towards that they should, either way, just because one incubator is not like another, in my view. Different incubators have different metrics and expectations of the projects running through them. Given that Helios has been working closely with EOS related projects, it may be easier for a project that's going through our incubator to show that they're aligned with the expectations and maybe move a lot faster through it.
Also, Helios was not EOS specific. I think they were across all Antelope. And I guess our requirements here are EOS specific, building on the EOS blockchain and EOS EVM. So
So do we have any questions? Anything about the structure, the circles, the functioning of the incubator, the idea in general of unlocking the treasury and basically revamping and the distribution mechanism? Maybe it's a little bit to have to digest. I get that. It's worth digesting first and thinking about.
I gotta so the chief delegates and the L1 delegates are getting a fixed rate or a fixed distribution. What's the justification behind that versus a percentage of the treasury? Is it just like so you can have predictable income based on the work expected? Or what was the thinking behind making it fixed?
Two different things. One, like you said, the predictable income. The other part of it is that our treasury is running relatively low, where we can't afford to have percentages, and doing it in a percentage manner is just going to deplete the treasury even faster.
Wait, but if it's a percentage of a smaller number, wouldn't it deplete it slower? If you're always taking a percentage of a number and that number's going down, then the delegate's income is going down. So having a fixed would actually deplete it faster.
That's true, but simultaneously you would also have less interest from people joining. So I guess the trade-offs as a whole would just I
get that.
The treasury would go down. The income would be, I guess the expenditure would be less, yeah. But then there would be also less interest in that treasury.
Yeah, there's less incentives for sure.
Right. You're right on that.
And just to clarify, so an L1 brings on a project, they pass through the incubator. The CDs decide that they deserve funding, and then the funding comes from also the treasury. Is that correct?
At this point, the way that we're thinking about it is that the chief delegates decide the direction that the organization is going. So they would say, for example, we want Game 5 projects. The delegates would then bring on those projects, would go out there and look and prioritize those projects. Once bringing them on, they would run them through the incubator, and the incubator would have a circle that would be more specialized in selecting the projects that are best suited for funding. They would then collaborate and coordinate with the chief delegates that would have an MSIG on that funding.
Okay, so the CDs and the incubator circle both need to sign off if someone on the funding, and then where does that funding come from?
That funding gets unlocked from the treasury and moves into an account controlled by the incubator, that incubator circle, and being held with an MSIG with the chief delegates. So we want that funding still stays secure in their hands between the chief delegates and that circle. So we don't want that circle to have complete control of that funding and maybe end up in a situation where they're misallocating the funds.
Did you do like the metrics of, okay, with the fixed rates in mind for the rest of the year for 6 months, how much funding are we going to have as an incentives for projects to go through the incubator? Do we know those numbers?
Initially, it was thought that it would be 100,000 for the next 3 months and 100,000 for the next 3 months. That's likely not going to happen because we're already at 220-something thousand in the treasury. There's, I think, less than 50,000 left in the technical support, I guess you could call it, account, which was supposed to go to maintain the EdenOnEOS technical support for the OS, for the EdenOS. So if we have any expectations of also funding these circles, the second round, I guess you would call it, we would have to take from there, from the second set of, or the not this incoming election, but the next one. So maybe it would be 50,000, 100,000 this coming election that would get unlocked, and 50,000 for the next one. And we could use that half, that 50,000, to spread out between the two these two elections and to fund the circles. And then we would be done. At that point, we definitely need to have created enough value to have shown that this is effective in bringing on projects to the Eden or to the EOS ecosystem in terms of the EVM and the mainnet, and showing that these projects are capable at the very least, because it's also another question. Can these projects go through the incubator, launch, and start functioning within a 3-month or a 6-month or a 6-month period? That's, I would say, unlikely. That's a hard ask. Let's put it that way, depending on how far these projects have progressed. So depending on what projects we're bringing on, how far they're advanced, it may or may not be a hard ask. That all depends. But assuming that they're starting from zero, from scratch, it's a really hard ask. So that's something else for these for the next set of delegates and chief delegates, if they're going to be running on this idea, to prioritize, to bring on projects that are farther along and only need maybe funding to launch, or to for their marketing, or for something that might be less, I guess, in term that they're ready to go. Let's put it that way. That they're able to show a return faster. And that would be the way that I would say would probably best demonstrate our capabilities to the ENF.
Yeah, I think the lowest hanging fruit here is a project that already has a community and is already functioning, and they're just porting their, I mean, you know, the ENF marketing materials on the EOSEVM, they make it seem like it's quite simple. It's kind of just like copy paste code onto the EOS EVM. I don't think it's a lot of work. They get a little bit of value for doing that, and we get like a good project to go on the EOS EVM that already has a community and functioning.
Exactly. I mean, at this point, really, it doesn't take much more than going out to projects that might be on Solana, that might be on Ethereum, that might be on maybe starting to build on Cardano or anything of that nature, and getting them to move to EOS, and incentivizing them by possibly even funding all of their code transfer.
Yeah, I think we really only need one to show, like one good one. I think that would be enough to extend this plan past 6 months.
It would be if it was one really good one and we were really sure. It's a it's a gamble with 100,000. That's why one of the proposed ways of distributing it was 50,000, 30,000, 10, 10. So maybe we take our chances on 5, and maybe also fund a DAO that also has the capabilities of bringing on a lot of participants. Maybe also projects of that nature. I think, but I think this is definitely our way to contribute to what the ENF is looking for. They want projects on the EOS mainnet. They want projects building on the EVM. We have people distributed all over the world. They just need to have a purpose. They need to be able to go out there and say, this is what EdenOnEOS is, and this is what we can do for you as a project. We have a marketing circle. We have communications and media. We have the ability to help you out in all of these different ways. We have a net of marketing people spread out. We can have your project be amplified throughout the different manners. I mean, we're very well positioned to execute this, in my view. And this is EdenOnEOS. So with the funding that we have, if this works out, we can also take maybe 10%, 10,000 EOS, and use it to fund another Eden or maintain the EdenOnEOS code. I mean, not the EdenOnEOS, but the EdenOS code, if we wanted to, if that's the way that we want to utilize these funds, and launch another Eden, launch a governance Eden, launch a different kind of Eden.
Could I change topic to the languages?
Sure.
I think there should be a third option on there to not focus on the languages right now, because there's a lot of changes, and like there's a very, very detailed proposal that you wrote, and then the languages, it's like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. Like, this is really hard.
Then it would be option B or option 2, which in my view is a way to incorporate everyone from all of the different language groups into the circles, giving them the opportunity to contribute in that regard, and not launching their own language-specific Edens. Because in my view, I think it's worth keeping them in the loop, integrating them as much as possible, keeping them active within the community, within the sphere of Eden on EOS. And like you're saying, not focus on launching a language-specific Eden on EOS.
What are they going to be doing in the circles, though? Like, if you have someone who doesn't speak English, speaks Spanish, like, what is their function in the circle?
I would say their function is more, or the majority of the opportunities are going to be in the media, the marketing, and the communication circle.
Yeah, but how could they help there?
Spreading the word. If marketing material needs to be created, if communications material needs to be created.
So just translations.
Basically, translating and helping communicate the material to the rest of the community. If we're offering also the capacity for marketing and media and communications production for projects that are running through the incubator, that would also be something that could be produced in the media and communication circle and helped along in the marketing circle. Any other questions?
Yeah, that's I'll just say fine. Like, yeah. I can see how there's value there, because some projects are probably in global communities that speak different languages. So yeah, that's good. Go ahead, Patrick.
In the same vein as Jesse mentioned, for the multi-languages and all, before to have them running their own structure, maybe our responsibility as a Genesis EdenOnEOS English is to do something repeatable. So create the structure in place, good enough then to be repeated by other languages. And into the meantime, let those other languages come to us and help us to make the awareness of EdenOnEOS on the socials with the voice, with the same voice, and translation of article and all. That's very nice. But we have to build the structure, as you mentioned into your document. I love it. But before to have the eyes bigger than the body, go step by step and make every stage of this EdenOnEOS org potentially scalable and repeatable for other EdenOnEOS.
So I'm hearing again, option 2.
Yeah. If I speak like this, I am more in the option 2 for sure. But that's my opinion.
It's essentially that, where we're integrating or we're creating the ability for the other language speaking members to be able to contribute through the circles, because they can't participate in elections if we're not going to have a Sybil check at some point in some manner. Yeah. Option 1 is essentially having small breakout groups where the different language members participate within their languages to do the Sybil check. Then go on to the second layer, the second level amongst delegates, but then you would have maybe a Spanish-speaking delegate, a Chinese-speaking delegate, a Korean-speaking delegate, and 8 English-speaking delegates all working together. At that point, you would need to leverage the different translation software or different people that can act as translators. So those are the two possibilities: either running the delegates all together in one Eden and trying to do it that way, although it would be difficult if let's say that there's one Korean-speaking Eden member or EdenOnEOS member and no others that are running in that election, it'll be somewhat difficult to run a Sybil check on that person. So I'm hearing option 2 then. Dan, did you want to say something?
Yes, thank you very much, Mel, for the presentation, and thanks all for the thoughts. I wanted to add a couple of things that are, I think, partially inspired by what Jesse said, and just a couple of general reflections, I guess, on the proposal so far. I'm looking forward to reading it more. On first impression, I know we talked about this before, but I love the use of the Eden fractal process in consensus games, and I'm very happy to help with that however I can. And I like the vision too. I'm very interested to read it and learn more. But just one, I guess, word of, caution, or just one thing that I'm not totally sure about is, well, just on the first read or first check, I'm still, it's kind of confusing for me. It's kind of long, and there's a lot of new ideas there. And one of the things I love about the Eden election process and the fractal process, and I think is a really good engineering and design principle to keep in mind, is to keep things as simple as possible. As Jesse was saying, I think Jesse was saying that it can get complex with different people and languages. And then if I'm taking some time and I speak language and I'm very involved with Eden, then you can imagine somebody who's new to Eden, if they have to learn a lot of new rules, or if somebody speaks a different language, doesn't speak very fluent English, it is a global community. So people could get confused easily. There's there's a couple of really great concepts that I was made aware of by James Mart, who's I think everybody knows here. He's an awesome developer. He works with the fractal team. He's worked with Eden a lot too. And he opened my eyes to 2 principles. One is called credible neutrality, which is, there's an article by Vitalik Buterin, founder of Ethereum, about credible neutrality, which has 4 different principles. And one of them is the general idea is when there's more rules and there's more things to consider, there's more opportunities. I don't know if opportunity is the right word, but more potential for either corruption or just things not work out well and so forth, or it to have some misalignment or misincentive. And then he also made me aware of another concept called Kolmogorov complexity. Kolmogorov is named after a famous mathematician or something, and basically the idea of Kolmogorov complexity is and it also works with the sense of fractals too. You get these beautiful fractal patterns and it can do these great things, but it's set with a very basic equation. So I'm looking at, I have an article here that I'll share, and I encourage you to check out, and we'll be happy to discuss this. I curated some of the stuff that James Mart shared at edencreators.com/credible neutrality. So I'll share that in the chat here. And there's a little screenshot here where it says about Kolmogorov complexity is the idea that the shortest computer program or the shortest rules can create the most elegant results and stuff like that. So just as a first impression, it does seem fairly complex to me. And if it's possible to simplify it, then it could make it simpler for more experienced people like me, and then people who are new to the community, different languages. And so I think it's worthy to keep those principles in mind. And I shared those in the chat. I encourage you to check it out. But anyway, happy to discuss that more, and looking forward to reading more of the documents and hearing more discussions. And thank you very much.
Well, thank you for both comments. In terms of the complexity, at this point, we're going from 0 complexity, I think, where we are essentially running this organization without rules and expecting results without establishing metrics or expectations. So yes, we've gotten results. We can't argue with that. The question is, what are they and how impactful have they been? We can't begin to measure any of it, we haven't tried at the very least. And in terms of the complexity issue again, I don't think that we're overcomplicating anything. I think we're just establishing a little bit more of structure. I don't see it overcomplicated.
Cool. You might have had one more comment in response to that?
Sure.
Cool. Thanks, Mo. Yeah, so the one comment, I suppose I could make two comments, but I'll just keep it short. Um, there has been like a general sentiment, I think, expressed in the EdenOnEOS community that's like not very successful, but I just disagree with that very much. I think that EdenOnEOS is like profoundly successful. Like I wouldn't be here probably if it weren't for EdenOnEOS. I think I'm looking at Jesse right now. I know Jesse joined because of EdenOnEOS. I believe that's where I first learned about Jesse. I mean, I was following EOS as Dogman and kind of just reading about stuff, but EdenOnEOS inspired me to join and meet all you basically. I wouldn't know all of you, and I'm not sure if the EOSBs would be here. And the EOSBs are doing amazing work, and Jesse's also doing great work with Podsum and LeadSpark and stuff like that. I don't know if that would be there. EOS support also emerged out of there. I've been building Media Outlet, Eden Creators for the past couple of years, as well as Eden Fractal, and that's also like now we're working with Alien World Fractal and all these different things, and that's just a few examples. Like I think we need to do a better job of also advocating for what we've done, like explaining it. Like to me, the system is quite elegant in its simplicity right now, and it has been profoundly successful in many ways. And it's also like kind of the seeds of success too, because I imagine that Eden Fractal, EdenOnEOS, EOSBs, EOS support, like all these things, and also of course what you're working on, Tumo, with the reputation system, and there's so much more I can share. But just to keep it simple, like I think one of the main things we need to do is like we have an elegant system that I'd be careful to risk. I'd be careful to risk disrupting the elegance out of thinking that we're not achieving as much as we can just because we're not achieving it as soon as we can or explaining it well. But I think that we're already very, very successful, and we just need to do a better job of explaining that.
No, I fully agree. In terms of our lack of ability to market ourselves, we've done a horrible job of marketing and selling our successes. And we've let the narrative that we haven't been successful and that we haven't produced anything of value take hold in the EOS community, which is a shame. So I agree with you 100% in that sentiment. And I know that we've created a ton of things that are of value, as you mentioned, but we've also done a horrible job of maintaining any type of registry or list of what those things are. So even if we wanted to amongst our own community, not as many people as you or myself or the other members that are here are aware of all of the things that we've helped fund from the beginning, from the onset. When there was no Pomelo, when there was no ENF. So from that end, yeah, we've done a lot. The issue is that at this point, the people that are in control of our funding or where we're looking to receive funding, they have certain expectations. They want to see certain types of value created. And if we point to things that are not of value to them, then they will not fund that. So we have to ask ourselves the question of what value do the people that are funding us, what values do they have, what expectations do they have, and what value do they expect us to create? So that's where this purpose paper is directed. That's what the community through the strategy sessions has come to consensus on. We need to focus our efforts more than fund everything and not keep track of anything.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, thank you for the response, Mo, and that makes sense. I could also respond more and perhaps get a more detailed discussion more, but I see Lenny said 5 minutes to hard stop too, so I suppose I can.
I would also say that just I'm not sure if you're aware, but Lenny and I have also funded a summary of the past distributions of the past funding distributions from the beginning. So we want to have a complete set of a data, of a spreadsheet, of a presentation, of a document that we can point to and say, this is what we funded. This is the value that we've created up until this point, just so that people can't say that we haven't created value, because I know that we have. Value has been created in this organization. We've just done a horrible job of maintaining it and of marketing it. And that's not to say that that's the kind of value that those that we're expecting to keep funding us want. That's a different question.
Yeah, and I also think that there's a bunch of tools. We've created a lot of value by these kind of disparate tools, and we need a push to put these tools together into one cohesive offering. And I think that's a big thing that we're missing. We've had people build great tools, but we need, it's like, you know, like Megatron or whatever. We need to put all of them together so yeah.
I definitely agree. We've got a huge amount of tools already built, and of organizations, and of capable members, and all of these pieces that just need to come together in the right way.
2 minutes to hard stop, and as you notice, I've been quiet like anything. It's unusual, but this is a little bit lot to take in until you got it on paper in front of you and can read through also those pages from top to bottom that you didn't see at this stage, more details and similar how it's planned. But it will come. We have workshops tomorrow afternoon, as most of you would know, in all different areas, and that after that we have the final polishing of things and going through various stuff, plus of course Patrick's interview tomorrow midday our time in Europe.
Saturday.
But so far, any final very short question? Otherwise I would unfortunately need to round it off now. We have meeting Edenia after this.
I would just encourage everyone to also continue the conversation in the Telegram chat. Don't hesitate to continue asking questions. If you have any, I'll be very available to respond.
I say thank you very much for showing up, and also thank you for those who watch the recording later on. And there will be a lot of meetings tomorrow afternoon, and each different category. And then coming week, I expect to be having a nice discussion about how do we finalize things. I say thank you very much, and I see Patrick is warming up, so if I don't give him 10 seconds, he's probably going to slap me tomorrow when we have interviews. So, okay, go, Patrick.
We will have an interview on Saturday with Lenny, Mo, published on Sunday, straight to the point interview, timestamped, unveiling all what we have done during this term, the best term in my opinion. So now stay tuned and watch this video, and I will say to 3, 2, 1, 0 with all my heart, soul, and mind. Go EdenOnEOS. Raise your hand. Now I do the countdown. 3, 2, and 1, and 0. Go EdenOnEOS.
EdenOnEOS.
Yeah, baby.
All right, see you in continuation. Thanks for now.
Thank you all.
Thank you.